Drone pilots are losing their certificates and being fined up to $36,000, and one pilot just had their certificate permanently revoked. And we know this because the FAA just released its 2025 enforcement report. They fined 18 operations, suspended or revoked the licenses of 8 pilots, and announced a new enforcement policy that makes things, well, even stricter. In this video, we're going to break down every case, including what they did, what rules they broke, and what you can do to avoid being that person. Now, before we get into the specific cases, here's the big picture. The FAA levied fines against 18 operations for violations between 2023 and 2025, ranging from $1,771 to $36,770. Keeping in mind that the maximum penalty is $75,000 per violation. And there's a pattern that you need to notice right away. In every one of these cases, the pilot did not hold a Part 107 certificate and did not have their drone registered when they should have. Now, these weren't licensed pilots making judgment calls. These were completely uncertified operators who should have been. So, with that in mind, let's walk through the highlights of the cases from the smallest to the largest. First up is a classic big event, obvious restriction scenario, and the FAA doesn't play around with these. A drone was operated near State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. This was during the Super Bowl. The TFR classified the airspace as National Defense Airspace, and the pilot had no Part 107 certificate, no drone registration, and was flying in Class Delta airspace without ATC authorization. Now, the FAA puts the TFR in place well in advance. They are pretty easy to find, and there's really no excuse for not checking here. And if you think that this was just a one-off, well, the next flight is basically a checklist of mistakes. This one was an example of what happens when someone brings a drone into a packed crowd and ignores every rule that pretty much exists. A pilot flew a DJI Mavic 2 Pro over a crowd. This was at SunFest in West Palm Beach, Florida. People were actually throwing ice at the drone. It ended up hitting a coconut tree, and the pilot had no Part 107 certificate, no registration, and no remote ID. They were also flying in Class C airspace without ATC authorization, and they failed to maintain visual line of sight for the entire flight. Now, make sure that you're familiar with Part 107 rules regarding flying over people using categorized aircraft, what's required, and why a music festival crowd is, well, kind of an obvious no-go. All right, now let's shift from crowds and events to a location that gets enforced aggressively every single time. Next is a VIP airspace violation, and these are the kind of flights that get attention, well, pretty fast. A drone flew in restricted airspace near Mar-a-Lago, classified at the time as a national defense airspace under a NOTAM. And the pilot had no Part 107, no registration, flew above 400 feet AGL, lost visual line of sight, and was in Class C airspace without having ATC authorization. This is pretty much the culmination of broken rules here, and ultimately the pilot faced a fee of over $20,000 for it. By now, you may have noticed a recurring theme here. Drones were not registered when they were actually supposed to be. And this is kind of an easy step, actually. All you need to do is head over to the FAA Drone Zone website and follow all the different prompts. It's going to cost you $5, and this is going to be good for 3 years. Now, in our effort to make sure that people do actually this step, we've been offering free registration stickers for years now. You can click on the link in the description and we'll send you a set of free stickers. And again, yeah, this is free. Okay, now if we're wondering what the FAA considers the worst case scenario, it's pretty much this next one because, well, it impacted real emergency operations. This is the biggest fine for a reason. It didn't just break the rules, it actually stopped an emergency response. A pilot flew a DJI Phantom 3 in the vicinity of Soldier Delight Natural Environment Area. That's a mouthful. This is in Baltimore, and this was during an active wildfire. The drone came within approximately 140 feet of the police helicopter, and as a result, aerial wildlife suppression and emergency response were suspended for 30 to 40 minutes. Multiple agencies were involved, in this case, Baltimore County Fire, Police, Maryland State Police, and then also the National Guard. The pilot had no Part 107 and no registration. The FAA also cited a very specific federal statute here, 49 USC 46320, for knowingly and recklessly interfering with a wildfire response, which carries a separate penalty of up to $20,000 on top of the FAA fines. This is the biggest fine for a reason. When drones enter wildfire airspace, they force helicopters and air tankers to be grounded. And in this case, the fire kept burning, and it can cost actually lives. Now, fines are one thing, but the FAA also went after licenses in 2025. 8 remote pilots faced suspension or revocation. A suspension is temporary. They usually range from 150 to 300 days, when a revocation actually means that you lose your certificates permanently. And here's what makes these cases here a little bit different. Unlike the fined pilots that we talked about earlier, these operators actually held a Part 107 certificate. They were trained, certified pilots who broke the rules that they were supposed to to know. The first case looks a lot like the Super Bowl case that we mentioned earlier, except this time the pilot was certified. A pilot flew a DJI Mavic 3 over people in the vicinity of Oriole Park, this is in Camden Yards, during the Ravens versus the Denver Bronco game. The pilot was in BWI Class B airspace without ATC authorization, violated a NOTAM that covered the event, failed to maintain visual line of sight, and then also flew over people who weren't undercover or participating in the operation. Similar violation to the Super Bowl case, but instead of a fine, the pilot had a certificate, and so it was suspended. Next up is a totally different kind of operation, one where the paperwork was actually in place, but the execution fell apart. And this is one that we've talked about in some of our news updates multiple times, actually, as we followed up the story. This case is proof that having waivers doesn't actually help if you don't follow the safety procedures that you promised that you would, things that you told the FAA you were going to do and that you didn't. This was a Sky Element operation. The pilot failed to upload the correct flight path files. Some of the drones were running paths that were from the previous show. The show position was rotated 7 degrees from the plan, and the geofences were actually not adjusted to match. Multiple drones failed on takeoff. The layer didn't lift uniformly, so all of them at the same time. And when the pilot noticed the failure, they did not issue a hover command or assess the situation. And this is all from the report, by the way. They continued the show. Drones collided midair, and they fell to the ground and into the water. And at least one of them struck a spectator who sustained serious injury. We talked about that case. It was a young 7-year-old kid. Now, this is a case where the waiver system worked as intended. The pilot had the proper waivers, but failed to follow the safety procedures that they committed to in their own waiver application. And if you think that one was bad, the next one is actually worse because it directly involves another person in the air. And this is the kind of incident that turns a drone flight into an aviation emergency in, well, pretty much seconds. The pilot was flying in Torrey Pines glider port, this is in California, and the drone collided with the paraglider, that's not good, and it became entangled into the risers, forcing the paraglider to make an emergency landing. Now, the FAA cited the pilot here for failing to yield the right-of-way to all aircraft, operating so close to another aircraft as to create a collision hazard, and I would even say a collision in this case, and in failing to maintain visual line of sight. Now, this one is different because it directly endangered another person that was in the air, which is, I think, everybody's nightmare who flies this type of aircraft that they're sitting in. They get a 300-day suspension, which is the longest of the group. And finally, we get to the most severe outcome in the entire report, one that pretty much ended the Part 107 career of that pilot immediately. The pilot flew a DJI Air 3S near Mar-a-Lago at 9 p.m. This was in September of 2025. The FAA states that the pilot knew that Mar-a-Lago was the residence of the president and intentionally flew in the area to film the property. The TFR classified the airspace as national defense airspace, which is typical, and the drone was not registered. Now, this was not a standard revocation process. The FAA actually issued an emergency order of revocation, meaning that it was effective immediately. And the FAA's language here is unusually direct. The pilot's conduct demonstrated, and I quote, a lack of the care, judgment, and responsibility that every remote pilot certificate holder must possess, and their unwillingness and or inability to comply demonstrated such a disregard for the safety consequences that it poses an unacceptable risk to safety. Note also that another pilot was fined $20,371 for the same type of violation at the same location earlier in the year. The FAA obviously has zero tolerance for this, and the pilot's Part 107 is pretty much gone. So what do we do with all of this information? Why does this actually matter? Well, the FAA updated its enforcement policy in 2026 to require legal action when drone operations endanger the public, violate airspace restrictions, and are conducted in furtherance of another crime. This is pretty much a policy mandate. Here's a key shift here. The FAA is paying attention now, and so are the people around you. They issued a press release that ended by encouraging the public to report unsafe drone operations to their local Flight Standard District Office. That's the FSDO for short. And the environment definitely has changed. The FAA is enforcing more aggressively, the penalties are real, and the public is being encouraged to report violation. And this isn't the time to really cut corners. If you want a simple way to make sure that you have all of your bases covered before every single flight, we put together an actual free pre-flight checklist. So get it now by using the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.